So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about working in 3D. The video is intended for people who already have a little bit of experience working in AutoCAD, but only in 2D. I'll start off at this startup window in Autodesk's AutoCAD, and I'll go to the menu browser and select New. And from there, I will see a list of templates. Now there's any number that will work. If I scroll down a little bit, you'll see the AutoCAD template, which is commonly used for 2D drawing. There's also AutoCAD 3D. But I'm going to start off with the AutoCAD that is typically used for two-dimensional drawing, just because it is perhaps more familiar to you. So here we are in the 2D AutoCAD screen. One thing that you'll want to change if you are going to be working in 3D is the workspace. So these tools are intended for 2D work. If I want to have more of the tools that will be helpful for 3D modeling, I'm going to switch to the 3D modeling workspace. There is also 3D basic, and there's a little bit of difference between the two that you could explore. So when I start off with this screen, it is as if I'm looking at something from above. So when you work in 2D, typically that's how you would begin to construct a drawing. Now, this is regardless of whether you're constructing a plan view or an elevation view or a section view. We tend to draw them as if they're flat on like a piece of paper. In 3D modeling, you take advantage of the third axis. So right now, as you can see right over here, I'm in top view, and if I was, say, to make a shape like a rectangle, let's make our rectangle from coordinate point 0, 0 to 4, 2. There's my rectangle. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. All right, again, this is from top view. If I was to change this to a 3D view, as with these preset isometrics, now I'm looking at the rectangle from the side, from the corner. I have my x-axis, I have my y-axis, and now I have the z-axis. So the difference with 3D modeling is that you are working with a third axis. I'm going to take this rectangle, I'm going to erase it, and I'm going to show you how you can work with some of the 3D solid primitives. This is the box tool, so it will make a three-dimensional solid box. And similar to working with the rectangle, I input 2 coordinate points, but in 3D, I can enter a third axis along those coordinate points. So my first would be 0, 0, 0, for example, and the second one might be x as 4, 2 as y, and let's say 6 as z. So it's going to create a box in 3 dimensions. Again, just by inputting 2 coordinate points, but also defining a z-axis coordinate point. Other things that are different about working in 3D, you might find it useful to change the visual style. Right now I'm working in 2D wireframe, but conceptual would show me more of the surfaces of the solids within my model, and there are a number of other visual styles that you can explore. One thing about the axes that takes a little while to get used to is how they are positioned relative to your model. So right now my x is running in this direction, my y in this direction, and z is vertical, as I had constructed the rectangle and as I just constructed this box. But let's say I want to look at this model from the front view. This is the front side right here. So if I was to position myself from over here looking this way, there are presets for this. If I click on the preset list, I'm going to see front. I'm going to click on front. Now when I do this, be aware of the changes that happen to my axes, my user coordinate system axes. Front. Okay. If I'm looking at it from the front view, what's happened is the z-axis is no longer vertical. Instead, it's coming towards me. And the reason for this is that certain drawing operations need to be done relative to the XY axis. So I'm going to go back to the top view, and it's going to reset the axes to the default position, also known as world coordinate system. And then I'm going to go to southwest isometric. All right, so it has maintained the same positioning for the axes as it was when it was in top view. And from here I'm going to use another primitive tool, the cylinder. And I'm not going to be specific about the coordinate points or some of the other parameters. I'm just going to construct a cylinder. All right, now it constructed this cylinder relative to the XY axes. If I wanted to make a cylinder that was running along the y-axis in this direction instead of the z-axis like this one, what I need to do is change my view so that it resets these axes. So this time I'm going to go to the front, right? And as I'd shown you before, it has reset the axes. And from here, I will go back to the southwest isometric. And as you can see, it's maintained the same positioning for those axes. If I go to cylinder, and as you can see, it's going to generate this cylinder relative to the XY plane. And likewise, if I was to go to one of the other sides, this side here, the left side, or the right side, which is on the opposite side of the box. Let's go to left side. Okay. Zoom out a bit. Right? You can see that it's reconfigured the XY axis. And if I then go from there to southwest isometric, and I construct a cylinder, let's put our cylinder out in front here, like so. Okay, so it's really important that you keep your eyes on the positioning of those axes because it has a very direct bearing on how you construct objects. All right, and I'll use this 3D orbit tool to sort of spin around. So you hold down the left mouse button to use this tool.